Blizzard's been listening. They really have. And they're trying to give us a bunch of ways to gear out better, to gear out faster, whether it's delves, whether it's earlier versions of Mythic Plus, earlier keys. They're really trying to create a better experience when it comes to gearing out. Here we go. Patch 11.1 is going to be insane. Gearing up has never been better. The War Within. Let's see what Dalaran has to say about gearing up in 11.1.
Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and over the last few weeks we've been closely monitoring the patch 11.1 Season 2 update for the War Within expansion to see how the season progresses for this expansion and as the second season of the World Soul Saga. And it's actually started off not that great, especially with some of the dungeon changes that we were anticipating. But over the last few weeks, they've really started to turn around. From them listening to feedback and making adjustments, improving massively systems such as the Delve gearing system with additional rewards and even more currencies.
You get yourself
Mythic plus dungeons to make it easier for
Mythic. You can get yourself what is it called? What kind of crest is it? Gilded crest or whatever? The Mythic version of them, basically. So from Delves, that's really good
for entry-level players that don't normally do
good
dungeons
for the Delvers.
To actually dive into the system and get more gear than ever before. Even raids are getting some much needed bad luck protection for some of the best in slot items up there, and even some adjustments to open world content with more currencies, PvP, as well as even crafting refresher to allow players to really optimize their builds so they can start crafting their own gear much easier. And I wanted to cover exactly all of the different ways that Season 2 is going to make gearing a character, whether it is your main, whether it is your ults, even easier than it was in Season 1. That's essentially what I want to do for today's video, is to go over the culmination of all of the different ways how Season 2 might actually be much more fun experience that War Within has been so far. As always, if you guys want to see more regular updates for the War Within expansion, especially patch 11.1, currently available for testing on the PT.
Gearing is a joke, Sam. I had a higher eye level week 3 of this season than you currently do now. What? Really? 628? You had a higher level than that in week 3. If you're doing Mythic Plus, you probably can pump up your eye level real fast, to be fair. But what this new season is giving you, what it looks like Blizzard's trying to do, is give you a variety of ways to pump up your gear, rather than just being funneled into Mythic Plus, which was quite challenging in this first season for a lot of people.
TR, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe, but otherwise, let's dive right in. So I'm going to separate this video through the various sources that will be available when it comes to all the different features and endgame content progression systems that are going to be available in Season 2, starting with a simple one, which is open world content, which will still continue to offer great starter gear to obtain, even more veteran track pieces for a variety of different elites and enemies, as well as some of the weekly open world quests, which are still going to continue to offer you entry level items. Open world gear never has been the best gear in the world, and it's not like they're really going to change that too much heading into Season 2, but it's great starter items for anybody who's just trying to gear out the character for the very first time. Though this time around, it does seem like around Undermine we'll be getting even more open world currencies, specifically things such as Valor Stones. Chat weeklies are a set of activities that you can complete.
That's great. I love it. I want them to make Valor Stones more openly available everywhere. The last thing I want to see is when I'm chasing crests, right? I have enough crests, but I don't have enough Valor Stones. That shit's annoying. I don't want that to happen. So yes, giving more ways to gather Valor Stones, to get Valor Stones, I hope they continue to do that, because I don't want it ever to be something that I have to deal with.
Out in the open world that awards you bonus Valor Stones, a currency that will be necessary heading into
the chat
Season
system,
2.
Yes.
Many players are wondering if Blizzard could potentially either increase the amount of Valor Stones we can get from all forms of endgame and open world content, or just outright remove Valor Stones. It looks like the one with the increase option. So doing more open world activities is going to get you that necessary currency that will be crucial in not only upgrading gear, but also crafting more sparks in order to create crafted gear, which is a good thing. Plus, also open world content will offer plenty of new collectibles for you to obtain if you're someone who is more interested in looking good rather than wearing stronger gear. Though most players that are solo players, open world players, are going to be diving into delves, and that's where I want to head into it next.
Right, that's you're going to get your vault up and all that shit. Delves are plus open world content if you're not a raid Andy or a dungeon Andy and you just want to literally casual your way through this game. yeah, at least you can and contribute to your vault now via delves and open world content.
Whereas solo, well, primarily solo players are going to be able to get. Technically, delves can be done with other players, but a lot of you guys end up playing them solo specifically. So solo dev players are going to be getting even more rewards than ever before in Season 2. Not only are we getting item level improvements from delves themselves, but delves are going to be going through a bit of a reset, however. This change does mean that you'll first have to restart delves at tier 4 maximum. You won't be able to jump into tier 8, 9, 10, 11 immediately. So you'll need to
you're not gonna be able to do
5, 6, 7.
Tier 8 delves are you're gonna be waiting on tier 8 delves for the new season to kick off. So you're gonna have to wait, just like when we first got into the War Within, up to tier 4, and then you'll be able to push your item level up. But look at that, tier 8, 639 plus item level. And the big thing is the crests, right? That's what you're gonna get additional. I think it's expedition. It's a different chest that's going to give you the crest. I don't know if it's this one or not.
And then hit that sweet spot with your 8 and above, which awards you the most amount of gear, which can award you items of 593 quality, but also bountiful coffers, which can award you champion track gear of 639 item level, and even Delver's bounty with hero track 649. But also a new form of Nemesis strong boxes, which I'll talk about in a second, because there's a lot of different changes.
I think those are the boxes that I was talking about where you get crests from them. And the Delver's bounty, my God, that's a lot. By the way, they said these not only bountiful delves, but the delve maps, you know, the exploration maps that's supposed to give you additional loot, they're going to change how those drop too, because they feel like a lot of people just never saw them enough of those.
Came to delves in general. So one of the things I still wanted to do and continue forward into Season 2 is delves bountiful delve boxes from the bountiful coffers. Those are still going to stay about the same. That is still going to be the cap in terms of just trying to maximize all of your gear, and we're trying to do the minimum type of difficulty content for the most amount of gain. Tier 8 technically is the content that will provide you the same gear across tier 8, 9, 10, 11, and on. There's a new nemesis that's around now in Season 2. Instead of Zekvir, we get a brand new one, but also brand new types of enemies called nemesis enemies in these delves. Technically, you can avoid these nemesis elites and rares, but if you do defeat all of the different nemesis groups, you do get to buff up your nemesis strong box, an additional box that you'll get to loot at the end of that run. And the more nemesis enemies you defeat, the more rewards you can gain out of that box. Also, they wanted to give players a reason to do tier 9, 10, and 11 tier delves as well. And to encourage players to do higher tier delves, you'll now be able to get more rune crests out of all of those delves. So you'll be able to upgrade all that champion track gear from the delves way quicker. For tackling tier 11 difficulty delves, you'll actually be able to start to earn gilded crests with a cap of 21 as of this most recent PTR build.
That's big because, I mean, you're literally pushing mythic level raid gear with that. So, I mean, that's a huge thing to get to delvers for sure.
Increase it in the future, but it looks like they have been increasing that cap little by little. So out of
I think the cap is 18 now, so that's what it's gonna be. So you can't just completely gear out, but you can upgrade at least once, maybe a week, if you're just doing those delves.
Cap that you can get every single week from all forms of endgame, you can get at least 21 from delves specifically.
21,
which is a nice boost, but it does mean you may, if you're trying to get as many gilded crests as possible, may want to look out for other sources like Mythic Plus dungeons, which should hopefully be a little bit more accessible with better delve gear. But also they wanted to make a change towards the Delver's bounty maps as well, as some players have gone the entirety of Season 1 of War Within doing delves, and they've never picked up a single one of these bounty maps.
I can't believe some people got no bounty maps. I think I got 4 of them this entire season. I got a lot of them. At one point I had 2 of them in my bag, so I'm shocked that some people never saw one, but I guess they're increasing the drop rate.
Which award you hero track gear, but also additional things such as more gilded crests, at least they did in Season 1, as well as a variety of other currencies, and these are definitely worth getting, though the rarity drop rates were abysmal. So what they're doing is changing it up, where every time you run a delve and you don't get a bounty map, you are more likely to get it in your next delve with some bad luck protection, but now each player is going to be capped to only getting one of these per character per week, which means you should start seeing bounty delvers maps more often, which means even more hero track gear and better gearing through delves, but you can't get like 3 of these in a row or anything like that. You can only get once a week.
So they're gonna drop more often, but there's gonna be a cap on them only once per week.
But at least you'll get them far more consistently, which is a pretty nice bonus. Also, your friendly companion Bran has got a few upgrades, like you finally can run him as a tank spec. Previously, DPS classes would pair together well with Bran as a healer to be able to get all the deaths done, and tanks would run Bran as a DPS to get a little bit more damage output out of him, as tanks were a lot better at surviving combat. But healers found themselves in a weird spot where you couldn't really run Bran as any role to get more of an optimal, better experience.
Yeah, this is good for healers.
So now with Bran running as a tank, he can actually draw a lot of aggro, and he's surprisingly efficient at it. Running delves as a healer became actually a lot more enjoyable because you get to play around with your healer-based role of managing cooldowns, pumping out healing, while Bran does a good portion of damage while you...
I think, too, the way it is like the higher Bran's health is, the more damage he does while he's tanking, so you're incentivized to continually heal him, too.
Supplementing whatever you can. Plus, with additional curios the Bran is getting, which is a complete revamp compared to the curios we had so far, all of these are a lot better. I got to test a bunch of them recently, and they're a lot stronger, which should hopefully make it easier for you to tackle some of those tier 11 difficulty delves a little bit quicker and earlier in the season 2. And should hopefully make getting through delves in general a little bit more of a breeze, with Bran getting a little bit more functionality upgrades as well. But maybe you're not a fan of solo open world content and you would rather do group stuff instead in Season 2. This is why we got upgrades for raids as well as Mythic Plus dungeons.
I love this new raid.
Raids,
it looks so
for
cool.
the most part, they're still going to offer some of the best gear within Season 2 of the War Within expansion.
As it
within
should.
your raid, Liberation of Undermine, which has some of the best items out there with some of the highest item levels on them, some of the strongest effects out there with even rare items, and it's also a great source of you being able to get a bunch of tier gear from these encounters. Besides this, however, they're also going to offer a new Bellagio Renown track.
Yeah.
Very similar.
I've said it a lot of times now, but I think this Renown track, some people are underselling it. I really think it's going to change how raiding works in the game. All these quality of life buffs you're going to get just from doing the raid over and over. And it's not like you got to do it multiple times a week or something. Just get halfway through the raid every week, and you're essentially on track with the Renown track. Now, right now, they have it scheduled out to last 20 weeks. I can't believe that. They need to change. They need to lessen that shit or move a lot of the stuff around in terms of rewards. But overall, like being able to res, longer food buffs, summoning to the raid, like all these different things that a lot of people have asked for a long time just in general. Now you're going to get it through this Renown track. I think this whole thing's great. Plus, there's the obvious buffing to your player, right? Buffing your damage output and healing output, stuff like that, is just going to make the raid more, easy to complete once you've been pushing it for a little while.
Similar to what we have like with the Cartels of Undermine with its own bonuses, though it's going to be tied to the raid progression instead of a faction, and you get this once
This track's the best thing of the update. I agree.
During the raiding season. In that Bellagio Renown track, you'll be able to get a bunch of raid bonuses from additional healing, additional damage, catch-up bonuses, a bunch of conveniences, but also 2 pieces of gear tokens, or rather currency that you can trade for gear tokens from the raid itself. And over the 17 weeks, once they enable that new Renown track for the raid, you'll be able to buy 2 guaranteed items from that raiding tier.
Nice.
Which offers some bad luck protection, basically allowing you to buy these items and then further upgrade them to the highest possible level. So if your character requires certain weapons or trinkets or certain items to even function and play
Season 2 will be
optimally
peak War Within, I think so.
and raid content, then you'll be able to guarantee purchase these items and upgrade them to
Yeah, this mount, by the way, everybody's going to get it. As long as you fill out the Renown track, and there's also going to be catch-up mechanics. So say it's 20 weeks long, the Renown track, but you're joining WoW at week 5, you can get all 5 of the first ones in 1 week, right? So it's, I don't know if there's enough to get. I guess you could do multiple versions of it, so you'd be able to get all 5. But yeah, and by the way, the Renown track works no matter what version of the raid you're doing, you can gain Renown. So LFR, normal, heroic, whatever it is, you're gaining towards that Renown track. But this mount right here, this freaking amazing looking mount, this is the end of the Renown track
then
reward.
you'll be able to guarantee
Everybody's going to get this freaking thing if you fill out the Renown track. This is such a badass looking mount. I'm so excited to get this thing.
purchase these items
Look at that
and upgrade
animation.
them to the highest possible ranks. Having bad luck protection even on 2 items is really nice quality of life improvement, because I've gone through so many rating tiers where I'm just missing that 1 item to complete my full best
Right,
slot set, or if my class requires a certain weapon to give myself the biggest power spike imaginable, you'll be able to get those items with this bad luck protection, which is a nice bonus for
Great
raiding
thing.
content. But maybe you're a big fan of Mythic Plus dungeons instead, which is going to be a brand new season with a new set of dungeons all
I'm hopeful,
together.
man. I'm hopeful that Mythic Plus, they're making so many changes. They're nerfing a lot of the mechanics. They're changing the way loot works. You're going to get better loot earlier on in Mythic Plus keys. The dungeon rotation overall, I just feel like it's going to be better. It can't be worse, maybe. That's what I'm saying. Hopefully the dungeon rotation looks better. And, you're going to have longer cast times, easier interrupts. Just overall, they're trying to make it easier. Because the theme of Season 1 was it was way too difficult. It just was. And people say get better. It just was, man. It was too difficult. They really tuned that shit to the top 1% way too much. It's worse.
Mythic Plus dungeons in general are going through a variety of new changes, offering
I guess I won't
better
do it.
gear upgrades than previous season. With champion track gear showing up starting at Mythic 0 difficulty to get more players to want to do some of the entry-level dungeons so you can actually learn the mechanics, the abilities, what each boss and each trash bag does to get players more of a reason to dive into some of the lower tier content.
Why do you care you don't do
dive
keys?
into delves to get
I don't do keys because it's not fun to me. I've just reached a point in WoW, like there was a time back in the day, I know it's hard to believe, where Sam would just fucking grind everything out. Whether it was fun or not, I just wanted to push my item level up, and I would do whatever the fuck it took to do that. I've reached a point now, call me an old man, where I just don't do shit I don't find fun anymore. So if I think something in the game is not fun, I'm just not going to do it. I don't care if it's going to harm my item level or not, I'm just not going to do it. So I didn't do Mythic Plus this season a lot at all, because I didn't find it to be fun. Throw me back in Season 3 of Dragonflight, I was running that shit like twice, 3 times a day. I was enjoying it so much. Yeah, excuses. So, if you'll be able to know whether the season's good or not in terms of whether or not I'm participating in it. And it's not just me. Participation in Mythic Plus this season was at an all-time low. So, it is what it is. Just I hope that it gets better. And Season 2, if it's fun, I'm going to participate for sure.
a bunch of champion track pieces. Now you can start doing Mythic Plus dungeons
In
instead
good old days,
to get a bunch of champ track items while also learning what these dungeons do. From there, the rewards are also further upgraded as you start getting hero track drops at a +6 difficulty, which is going to mean that you're going to be able to get some of the higher tier gear very early on.
This is a good thing.
+7s offering gilded crest to upgrade that hero track items, allowing you to further increase your item level to push up some of those higher, more difficult keys much easier. Dungeon scaling is also getting nerfed as well, from a +10 per key level to a +7, which means that scaling in dungeons and keystones this season should be a lot easier for some of the newer players to get into, with them likely being not as intimidating to start off with, especially with some of the non+12 key difficulty, which are kind of like outside of the Mythic Plus push progression. Like when you're learning dungeons, gearing out a character, it should be much easier for you to dive into it midway. The Challenger's Peril affix still exists, but it's actually been changed up to be a +12 difficulty affix instead of original Zalata's Guile, so you won't have to worry about this whole overly punishing deaths mechanic as you're trying to gear out your character through any of the keystones from +2 to +10 difficulty, which is a massive bonus. You still will get things like Tyrannical, Fortified, and Zalata's flavor affixes throughout the season, but Zalata's Guile, which is the original Challenger's Peril, adjusted for Season 2, you will not be seeing it until you're really doing some of the top.
I mean, to summarize these changes, basically what Blizzard did was they made Mythic Plus more rewarding. They shifted a lot of the rewards further up the chain, right? So they're closer to what you're going to see in a Mythic Plus 5, 6, 7. You're going to see better rewards earlier on, and they shifted a lot of the difficulty to the back end. Right, where you're going to have the high key pushers and the no life Andes and all these guys who like just love to push their IO up. It's back there. Plus a 3K mount, right? A 3K achievement mount now for getting a 3K IO. So that's what they did. Rewards up, difficulty back. Hopefully leads to a more participation and an easier season overall. More rewarding season
and
too.
Above difficulties. Basically, the changes to Mythic Plus are designed in such a way to encourage more entry-level players that don't normally do dungeons to want to jump into them for Season 2, but also to encourage those players that do get into that ecosystem to push further than entry-level dungeons and do some of the more difficult content to get some of the best items and further grow that population as well. From there on, however, we have PvP content, which is its own ecosystem, and it remains largely...
Oh, there's still PvP in this game? The shit? I didn't know people still PvP'd.
Unchanged this time around. They're still focused on trying to make it so that PvP gear is the best gear that you'll need for PvP content.
That makes sense.
You will not need to do dungeons, delves, or raids in order to be able to have competitive items heading into Season 2 for PvP. If you're just focused on PvP, Honor, Conquest, and Bloody Tokens gear is all you're going to need, which is going to be
That's
great,
good for you
but
guys.
just the item levels of these pieces are going to be increasing in Season 2, and a lot of those items are going to be a lot stronger than any of the pieces you've gotten from Season 1, so you'll want to make sure to stock up on Honor ahead of 11.1. We do have a couple of new items, however.
That's good. That's good for Zaryu and the other guy who's still PvP sometimes. You guys will enjoy this season of PvP, it looks like.
Section, if you do end up getting any of the raid tier sets from LFR, normal, heroic, or maybe from the Great Vault, like if you want to do a bit of PvP, but also a little bit of PvE content on the side, any tier gear you get from
I don't even think Zaryu PvPs anymore.
Converted into PvP items, or at least you can add that PvP scaling to those items immediately. So you no longer have to go and get yourself a shoulder, a chest, and a helm, and all these things from Conquest boxes. Wait until the Catalyst is enabled, and then convert items week by week or every 2 weeks to get yourself tiers and bonuses if you're trying to get those in PvP. If you want to do some casual PvE content and fill up your Great Vault with some of the entry-level items, get a couple tier pieces, you can immediately add and slap that PvP scaling on those items.
You've been doing PvP this season. It's crazy that people have been saying this since Wrath. Wrath was the best PvP, man. Oh my god. Winter Song, oh, what the fuck was it called? Winter Grasp. Amazing. Man, that was some good open world PvP. I wish they would do something like that again. I don't think Blizzard will because they're worried their servers are going to crash all the time now. They get like, they get server scared. But man, Winter Grasp, that was amazing. That was real WoW PvP right there. Just all out, open zone, open war. Oh god, it was so good, man. I miss Winter Grasp.
Directly, so it's a bit
and then there was the raid at the end of it too.
More than anything,
Such
the
good
rest
content.
of the PvP gear stays roughly the same, whether it comes to earning the items or crafting them in Season 2. However, crafting gear does go through a number of its own changes, with lots of new recipes available in Season 2, which may likely shift around what items you'll be rocking heading into this brand new seasonal update. However, the whole crafting system is going to be different for you, and the changes may or may not impact you depending on how you interact with it. If you're someone who doesn't do any crafting yourself, but just most of the time just uses the crafting order system to make gear for your character, you will be happy to know that they have the enchanted crest vendor located right next to the crafting order vendor, or NPC rather, so you could get those enchanted crests, make those crests, and then go to crafting your items fairly quickly from there. So it's a nice little convenience change, but for the most part, if you mostly get your gear by having someone else craft it for you, you're not going to see a lot of changes. Though if you're someone who's looking to make your own crafted gear, they did add an extra NPC with Consort Knowledge Master that actually will let you reset your crafted profession specializations, as in it will allow you to refund all of those points that you invested into a profession and reallocate them differently for Season 2. You can only do this once for the season, so you have to be very, very careful with how you spend those spec points afterwards.
They'll change that. They'll change it. Don't worry. They'll change it. Yeah, people are going to get angry about this. They're going to be like, why Blizzard? And eventually they'll patch it. Hey, guess what? In patch 1.1.5, your knowledge is going to be able to be reset anytime. They might put a cooldown on it, so you can't just do some weird profession shit where you're swapping your knowledge around and basically creating everything yourself. But once per season, that's a bit harsh, I think.
But after you get that crafting profession specialization reset, you're now then able to reallocate those points in any way you see fit. So maybe if at the beginning of the season you invest your points into, I don't know, some specs that weren't really all that lucrative, weren't all that good, and you would rather be able to go into the next season being able to craft your own gear, you can now respend those points to be able to craft your own items for yourself instead, which is a fairly nice convenience change overall that allows you to better optimize your professions, especially if you're actually going to use them to craft your own items, and it might even save you the 5,000, 10,000, up to 20,000 gold in tips when you have someone else craft the item for you. But as always, I do want to thank all of you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys did enjoy this update video. If you did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give this video a like. I would very much appreciate it. Join our Discord community where we post regularly all the 11.1 class stuff, but also just general seasonal stuff as well, as they've been getting a lot more updates recently, with us anticipating the patch releasing sometime soonish, likely this month.
Yeah, it's going to be end of this month.
Thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.
February 25th, I'm calling it right now, just so you guys know. I've called it many times. But yeah, that's a good video. Good video from Dal. Look, they worked on everything, right? They tried to make rating better with the renown track. They tried to make Mythic Plus better by shifting rewards around and difficulty around. They tried to fix delves by making, Brand can tank, and now you can earn, what's it called? Gilded crests, right, from that. And then they tried to fix PvP by making sure that everything that you get in PvP can be gotten from PvP. And then finally they fixed crafting. Because why not? All these crafting anties out there fucking around. Now they can, reset their knowledge. So it's good. A lot of improvements, a lot of listening to feedback. Hopefully that means a lot of fun coming in 11.1. Nice video from Dalaran.